Hello friends, this is Amy. Welcome to my channel. This is a fun little trash to treasure and I am just showing you some of the things that were getting tossed. We have a little shop that's in the neighboring town and must be after Christmas stuff. So what the things that I ended up using was that cutting board, this thing right here that says welcome friends. And then this on the bottom is what I ended up using with the two snowmen. So let's get started. I'll show you what I did. So the easiest and one I really was dying to do was this cutting board. I love the weight of this, so I'm thinking it must be pretty old. And it just, you know, sometimes when things are nice and heavy, it's like, well, this was good quality. And so I've got my Rust-Oleum white chalk paint. And I'm just going to put a layer of chalk paint on that and just kind of see where I ended. I didn't completely cover it. I kind of wanted it to be, you know, like a distressed looking. So I just didn't go all the way to the end. And you can see when I get finished here how it looks. And I only needed one coat of paint and I let that dry. And then I wanted to add some of the stained look to it. And when I started staining, this is with that antique wax, I thought, oh my goodness, is this really brown? So I didn't do the whole thing. I was like, I'm not sure about all this. So then I just kind of went over and did the actual wood so I could stain that. And you know how it is, you get started with stuff and then you just don't know how things are going to turn out. But I think it turned out beautiful. So here I am just sanding some of the areas to kind of rub off some of that stain. And I kind of kept the inner area white, I should say. And here I am sanding. And trying to just rub off some of that stain and just kind of make it look dirty and old. And I do have some of these little rub-on transfers. And so I was looking at them and I actually have some of these in my store. It's an Etsy store right now. And so I chose this one and Home and Farm, and all you do is you cut it out, whatever it is you want to use, and then it has a protective layer on the back, and I'll show you how to do that. I was looking at that cow too. I was like, oh my gosh, that cow is so cute. How would that look on there? He just kind of looked like he was lonesome or something, so I didn't use him. I went with this one. So you take and remove the backing, place it down, and then it comes with a little stick, which you'll see. So then just apply pressure, and you know, with these rub-on, you know, items, you just pull it up. If it's came up, you lay it back down, you know, just a little bit at a time. You see how I'm looking, and then oh, we've got something we need to rub back down. It works so nice. These are such nice little rub-ons, I should say, because I don't know, it works so nice. I just love rub-ons when you can get something this pretty. Now, it didn't quite match my board, so of course I had to lightly rub it down just a little bit to rough it up and make it look old. You don't want to overdo that part, of course. And then it needed something more. And I was thinking, you know, I think, you know, to make this more farmhouse, we need some stripes on there. And so I got my blue tape and just kind of looking at things and turning it over and just making sure things are straight. and I made it so I could start out with 2 black lines, and then just went along and dabbed on some black chalk paint. Make sure those are nice and sealed down. That way there's no bleeding underneath. And those little makeup sponges from Dollar Tree, they come in so handy for this kind of a thing because you can just dab it on. And usually what I end up doing is I trim off the tip of it so I can use it again at least 2 or 3 times. Or you could wash it out, that would work too. And then right away I pulled off the tape, and it was dry in no time, so then I wanted to put on another stripe, and same technique. I had my stripes all done and everything looked nice and crisp, but of course they were just a little bit too bright, so I had to dull them down with some sandpaper. So far I'm looking at this and I'm really liking how it's looking. You know, it's like at first I didn't know if I should do the red stripes or strips, however you want to call it. I decided to just go with the black. And then it needed a bow at the top, of course. So I went through my ribbons and just kind of cut off some pieces of fabric and ribbon and whatever else I could find. And this is how you do a messy bow. You just gather it up, tie it up with some twine or whatever it is you want to tie it with, and then you'll just glue it down. And then the ends, you can do whatever you want with them. Sometimes I'll do just an angle like that, or I'll make a dovetail edge where you fold it in half and then you trim it. Just kind of trim it down to where you like to have it. And the middle, you know, wouldn't have to do anything, but I always kind of like to add a little something. And these little wooden buttons are so cute, but you can't just have them plain. You have to put a little thread in there, and that pulls the red together and makes it look super cute. And there, not so bad. There it is. I love how it turned out. Nice and grungy and just fun. And like I said, it's really heavy, and so it just, I don't know, it just seems like it's a good quality item. And you know, I got this from the trash. It was actually trash that was out in front of that thrift store that they were like, please come take these things. And so I did. Well, let's keep going. We got another DIY to go to. All right, now remember that one item, it had the bear and it said welcome friends. I forgot to record that, but I took it downstairs and I took all of those things off. And then these little guys, I have been wanting to use these little frames. And so I picked one out and that would fit on there perfectly. Because when I had taken all those pieces off the front of that little sled, it kind of chipped it up. So I had to cover it up. These napkins happen to be called Harmony. And it's from a German company. People ask me a lot, where do you get your napkins? There's like little gift stores that I like to go to with my friends and stuff. And I'll just seek that stuff out. You know, sometimes they're a floral store, or, you know, they just have little gifty things. If you can't find anything like that, or you're not near a place, you know, that would have that, you can look on Etsy. There are people that specifically sell napkins, you know, for crafting, and they'll sell you, you know, 2, 3 napkins, and it might cost you like $4, but then you know how napkins are. You open them up and you can make 4 things with 1 napkin. So here I'm just putting it down with some Mod Podge. I did not put it on the top. I kind of wanted it to have a dry look. And just eyeballing things to measure it. This is, you know, a piece of that foam board you can get at Dollar Tree. That's kind of a nice thing to have too, because you have something that you can make, you know, like this. You've got something sturdy enough that you can apply things to without having a piece of wood or whatever. Another technique I like to use here are the 2 glues. So this is a white glue, and this would be your long term, and then your hot glue is the short term, and that way it'll hold it down in place until that other glue dries. And I don't like to mix them. I feel it works better without that, without mixing. Okay, so I just put some steel colored paint on there. And then this is a wax, and it's white color. And I thought, I'm going to just try and do this and see how it looks. And it actually turned out pretty cute. The directions were to put your wax on, let it sit about 15-20 minutes, and then wipe it off or buff it off. Some of the areas, you know, wanted to come off a lot better, which I don't really want it off. I put it on so it would, you know, make it that color. It just depended on if you're using the end of the wood. It actually was just really fun to use. It just changed the whole look of that wood. And then I did weight this down and give it some time, and now it needed a little bit more. And so I just had some muslin fabric, and so you can tear this into strips. It works really nice to just clip a little piece, or not a piece, but just put a clip in it, and you can just tear it. And this kind of gave it a little shabby chic kind of a look. I was thinking that's kind of the direction we're going here. And just making, you know, a couple bows, tying it off. And I put it on the bottom. I didn't show putting the flowers on either, but you know, it's just putting them in there. It all just kind of tied it all together. And I was really pleased at how this turned out. Remember, this was in the garbage, and they didn't want it. I made it into this, and I love how it turned out. Well, we've got one more. We're going fast here. So this ugly little thing, I was like, I like that it has the little doors or whatever. I took all that hardware off, and I'm keeping all of that for another project in the future. I ended up tossing those little snowmen. Part of it was broke. That is just a plastic piece. So on the back, you just take it out like it was, you know, if you were having a glass piece. And then I used that as a template to cut just a small piece of MDF. It's just the wood. And I'm using my Dixie Belle drop cloth color and just apply one coat and let it dry. Back at that antique wax again. This works so nice for, you know, doing the staining. It's much easier to clean up than if you had a stain. I mean, there's places you want to use real stain, but for these little projects, it works great. Look how nice this looks when I wipe it off. Just so pretty. Now, I am going to get my stencil out. I'm a Chalk Couture designer, And so just kind of showing you, this is where we put the fuzz, we're fuzzing it. And it just kind of makes the back so it's not as sticky. And then you put it in place and then press it down really good so there's no leaking in underneath. And then you can just see my process of going through this. I'm going to put a little red on that heart. And when you're doing this, these transfers, they are really called silk. They're silk screen transfers. And so that means that where those little holes are, it is not like open. It's got a like a screen there. It's a little silk screen stencil. And so rather than doing what you do with a stencil, which would be like doing circular motions, you would drag across the paste or whatever it is you're using, and it'll just collect in where it's supposed to. Now, I also need to admit, I am not perfect at this, yet. It is, it can be tricky to me sometimes, so I'm still working on it, but this one actually turned out pretty good. It's coming along. When it comes to putting that paste on, less is more. You don't really want to use a lot, but you want to use enough that will go through that silk screen. And then you just keep working through things, keep moving along. You don't want everything to just dry on there. That's one of the other tips I would say. And then once you have taken your transfer off, you want to wash that right away too. Otherwise it'll dry in there and it'll be ruined. So here we're going to bring it up, and it turned out pretty good. I washed my transfer and then I came back, and we're just going to pop that right in there since it was cut with that other piece. And I mentioned too, I just want to show you, I use that silk screen to put a little bit of that drop cloth color on the very top, but I didn't show that. And here I'm struggling. I'm just trying to get this on this little easel so you can see. This turned out so cute. Again, trash to treasure. They were throwing these things out. I love how this one turned out too. And here's the trio of the things I made, and we'll go look at them one more time. I hope that you enjoyed watching my video. I had a lot of fun with this. If you guys have ideas that you'd like me to do, go ahead and put them in the not in the description box. Put them in the comments. I read all of them, just so you know. Take care, my friends, and thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.